Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HiredUp Podcast. My name is Brieonna Wall, and I'm the social media director here at HiredUp. And today we have Emily Vines here on the podcast, and she is the owner and creator of Busybody Prep here in Dallas. So super excited to have you on and just kind of pick your brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, definitely. So for everyone who doesn't know you, like give a little bit of a backstory, like where are you from? Where'd you go to high school? Like kind of that whole backstory of you.
Yeah. So I'm Emily Vines. I'm from Rowlett. I went to Rowlett. I grew up, just being a cheerleader, doing volleyball, doing karate. So I was always active. I'm a black belt. Yeah.
Nice.
In karate. And I hated it. But now I look back and I'm like so thankful for karate because it taught me discipline and just all of that. Yeah. So big props to that. And then I went to Texas State and graduated from the business school in McCoy in 2017. So
what did you major in?
So I changed my major like 15 times, but I ended up with business management. Okay. And then, I did a lot of entrepreneurial classes. So you have to choose a little thing to study. It's either finance, marketing, whatever. Mine was entrepreneurship because I was always just interested in
So you've always been interested in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of jobs and I did not like working for people, honestly. I know. It's not that I can't work for people, but it's like I just want to run the show. Yeah. It's always how I've been.
What was the worst job you've ever had?
Okay. I was a waitress. Yeah. And I don't want to say the name because I love that restaurant, but I could not stand other girls my age telling me what to do, what to wear, what to say. Like it just didn't fit right with me because they wouldn't allow me to express myself. So I think a job where there was rules on how to dress, how to basically be a person was the worst thing that could ever happen to me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So you graduated with a business degree and you liked entrepreneurship. Yeah. When did you start getting involved with Busybody Prep? Like how long after college was it for you? Like how did that whole idea come to fruition?
So in college, I actually lost about 50 pounds in 2013. Wow. And so I started blogging what I would do. And I got a personal trainer. I would cook my own food. And then people were just very curious about how I lost all the weight. Right. And so from 2018, I kind of made that fitness connection with my life. Or from 2013, I made that fitness connection. 2017, I graduated college, and then I started doing medical sales. Well, I realized, so it was it's in the dental field, and I would go travel almost every single week to other states, and I wasn't really living up to the fitness aspect that I liked. I was very highly involved in yoga, all of that. So
did you feel like you weren't fulfilling a full part of yourself because you weren't getting that kind of fitness aspect in your life, so to speak?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So right after college, I got certified to teach yoga. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to be a trainer. I'm going to do all these things. And then
that's cool. Where'd you get certified?
Core Power Yoga.
Okay. Very cool.
So I did a 300 hour. I did the first 200 and then I did another extension on, chakras and all that stuff. So I'm very in tune with all of that. And I
love that.
Believe it. Yeah. So mind, body, soul is so important. But definitely. When I was doing the medical sales, I just felt like a piece of me was leaving because I wasn't able to really focus on what I loved, which was the fitness aspect of my life. It goes all the way back to, karate because I grew up in it, 5 days a week training and then doing that
5 days a week. Wow.
Yeah. My dad was crazy. We would go, there was one year, it was 50 out of 52 weekends I had a tournament.
Oh my gosh.
And that was my black belt year and I was just gone all the time. And so that being instilled in my brain and then, straight out of college, not being able to just practice and do fitness stuff because I was working 8 to 5 and then traveling on the weekends, it just I just couldn't do it. So
that's a lot.
I remember feeling that and just praying about what should I do because I was still training clients on the side. I was still doing all this stuff to try to fulfill myself.
Right. So you were being their personal trainer or
So I was training different clients. Like whenever I was doing medical sales, I had a few clients on the side that I would wake up at like 5 a.m., go train them, and then go to my real job.
Really? Okay.
And then people still, like throughout that whole 9 months of me working, they were like always coming to me for fitness. And so I just knew that was my purpose. Like you don't have to be the most fit person, but being able to motivate somebody to want to be the best version of themselves is really what it's about.
Exactly.
And so they kept coming to me, and I just remember I was like, you know what? I love cooking, and people keep asking me what to eat when I'm training them, so I'm going to start cooking for my clients. So I started cooking for my clients, and I was still doing medical sales, and something happened while I was doing medical sales. We were traveling, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to quit this job and see if people want meal preps. So I quit on like a Monday, and that following Sunday I had like 50 orders, and I just haven't stopped since.
Wow, that is unheard of. What did your parents think whenever you're like, hey, I'm gonna quit this very good job, lucrative career, and I'm gonna start meal prepping? What did they say?
It wasn't till about this year that they believed in it. And it's because they're very old school, work. My dad's a Dallas sheriff. My mom was in the business. She retired last year, but she was that 8 to 5. She was very, very high up in Dr. Pepper. So that's all they ever knew. And I'm pretty much the first entrepreneur in my whole family, besides my uncle, who owns a CPA firm, which I worked for in college, or actually in high school, I worked for him. So it's kind of foreign to the family. Everyone's normally like doing the, 8 to 5.
Right. Go to college, find the good, career afterwards, work your way up through the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you think you got that entrepreneurial spirit then, if you're the first one in your family, so to speak?
Honestly, I don't really know. I watched a lot of reality TV, so like The Hills and the Kardashians.
Yes.
And I honestly think it might have come from that. And just because, my dad is a Dallas sheriff, but he also came from a very, I think, strict or so, but very minimum family where they didn't do that. And I think if he would have, he was also very fitness oriented. So if he would have branched into what he wanted to do, he probably would have owned his own karate studio. He always talked about it, but he never did it. And so I just, I saw my mom, it's not like she didn't like her job, but she was always very stressed and very, and I just seriously am the type of person, if I want it, I'm going to get it.
Right.
And that can be good. And that can be, my parents always told me, like, if anybody was going to do it, it's going to be you, because you could talk us out of not letting you go to a party, but you were going to go regardless because you had the argument behind why you should go. So I think I just, watching young women like that succeed, I just wanted to be like that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you graduate college, you're in medical sales, you decide to quit and fulfill your passion of fitness. Where did you kind of go from there? When was it like, I need to create a brand, I need to create a website? Like, what were kind of your next steps?
Yeah. So I actually started it in September. I made it an LLC in November. So September and October were kind of trial months, and I was actually doing it illegally. I was cooking in my parents' house and selling to like just friends. Right. And then once I realized the demand and the gap in the market, that was meal prep. There's a few companies out there that were around back then, but there's nothing like now. It's flooded. But I started when the market was super dry in the meal prep area. It was always like freeze dried stuff coming to you, and there was a few here and there,
but it wasn't fresh food being cooked.
Correct.
Which is what you do.
Exactly. And actually in college, my last semester I was in an entrepreneurial class, and there was one project you had to do, and it was create a business plan. And then all you did the rest of the year was listen to speakers every single day talk about their business. And so at the end of the year, you pitch your business to entrepreneurs that are like billionaires, millionaires, like humongous people in the industry. So I wrote mine over owning a yoga studio with a meal prep inside of it. And just, it's kind of crazy because it all goes back to that. And when I pitched my idea, they were like, wow, like, how are you going to do this? Like, we're really interested. We think you can do it, but how are you going to tie them together? Like, all this stuff. And so what I did was I took their feedback, and knowing that it would be very probably lucrative in the Dallas market because Dallas is so big. There's millions of people here you can just sell to. So I took their questions and kind of perfected their questions for my business. So when I started it, I already kind of had a plan.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to have all these different licenses. And I wasn't that. I'm good at the fitness part. I'm not good at like the cooking part.
Right.
So I'm probably going off on a tangent right now.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I would say, what was your question that I'm answering? Or was I just
no, you're fine. I was just asking what your next steps were because in my mind, I think, even for a lot of people too, they're like, okay, I have a business plan. This is what I want to do. Yeah. Here's the nuts and bolts of it. But I don't think a lot of people know like how to create an LLC or where to go to create a website, or even that they need to create a website, or, you know, finding, now that you have a prep kitchen, you know, how do you even go about finding that? Like, like what did you do to get to those things?
Okay. So it was September. I realized the demand was crazy. So in November, I was like, you know what? I don't want to get sued from not cooking legally. Yeah. So let me go talk to an attorney. So my uncle, who owned the CPA business, had a bunch of attorneys that worked for him. And I was like, hey, y'all, can y'all look at these meal prep stuff? And they're like, meal prep? It was like super foreign to them too. So anyway, I got this guy to just kind of write out the rules, and you have to be in a commercial kitchen. You have to be certified. You have to have a food manager. There's just all these things that you have to do. So I started researching all of the certifications that I need, and I just ended up getting them.
Were you like ever at a point like, oh crap, this is kind of a lot. What did I take on?
Yeah. And it took me like all of 2019, I would say, to just kind of really realize what I was doing, because I was like, do I want to put all of my eggs into this basket? And I was kind of scared. And I was like, you know, at the time I was dating somebody who just had no idea, like, so we broke up, and then I decided to focus on it, and just literally there was I'll tell you about some injuries I had too, like some things that I knew. Okay, actually, it was the week before I went to a commercial kitchen. I cut the tip of my finger off at my parents' house. Oh my gosh.
Meal prepping?
Yes. Oh, it was a weekend. Gosh. It was my biggest order week. And I think that was the turning point of like, okay, I still want to do this business, but I cannot do this in my house. Number one, it's illegal. Number two, it's dangerous because you don't have all of the space that you need. You're rushing, you're doing all this stuff. So when I realized I had the clientele, I just needed the help, is when I went and got the kitchen. I started investing my money into it, because I did have some saved up from medical sales, but I wasn't really investing. It was kind of like I got them to pay for their meals. I bought the food, and then I cooked it. So I had the cash flow. I didn't really need to invest. But once I realized the market was there, I started investing into it, got into a kitchen, and it took me a year. So last year, 2020, is the year I actually set up a website. So
really?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
2019, I was actually working with Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders before I was their official sponsor.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you've been working with the Dallas Cowboys before you had an official website.
Yes.
Did you have an official kitchen at this point or no?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I was only cooking at my parents for 2 months.
Okay.
Cut my finger off, and then I was like, you know what? We're done in the parents' kitchen. We're going to go.
You're like, this is the final straw.
We're going to be legit now. Yeah. So yeah, I just, like, what I did was started to reach out to people. And one of my best friends, Brooke Schmidt, she was a former Dallas Mavericks dancer. So she kind of got me into the whole dancing world.
Okay, I was going to ask, how did you kind of get in? Because you work with Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I have it written down here, Dallas Sidekicks. Mm-hmm. Who else?
So last year, 2020, right before COVID hit, we were working with the Dallas Mavericks as well. And the dance team was ordering meals. They ordered for 2 weeks, and then they shut it down. So I was with the Dallas Mavericks dancers, the Dallas Sidekicks, the Texas Legends dancers, the Ice Angels, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, of course. And then now I'm about to start working with Dallas Skyline Basketball. It's the basketball league, so it's like a league right under NBA. Okay. And then their dancers. And then this is probably superficial information that I'm going to give y'all, but the Texas Rangers might be getting a dance team, and I'll be working with them as well.
What? So that is crazy.
Yeah.
The Texas Rangers might be getting a dance team.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Isn't it? I think there's only one other, and it's the Miami team.
Okay, I was about to say, I've never heard of a baseball team getting a dance team.
But how cute would that be? You know?
I know, for real. So when you're working with these teams, like say the Mavericks, you're meal prepping for their team or just the cheerleaders?
So the cheerleaders, but for the sidekicks, I prep for the guys that actually play this soccer. So this is my way kind of into the players, is to get into the dancers first.
Yeah.
Show them that I'm real, because I didn't even have a website. I was just like, hey, I'm here to meal prep. You know?
Right.
And the biggest thing about me and why I was so confident is because I've tried a lot of other meal preps, and this is not me knocking any meal prep companies down, but this is just me saying that, like, my biggest thing I focus on is quality and keeping the quality good, not just getting frozen stuff to make it into mass quantities, and just knowing that actually the results that I had losing weight, or the guys that I trained gaining weight with this food, is real, that I was just so confident in it, and just took a leap of faith. You know? That's all you can do.
So your friend Brooke is kind of the one who catapulted you in. So once you got in with the Dallas Cowboys, where you're like, okay, this is kind of my leverage of going to other sports teams.
So it was actually kind of funny. I was working with the girls, and I was meeting them after every Cowboys game. So I'd go to the stadium and drop like 20 meals off to these girls, and I was not their official sponsor. Well, this other meal prep company saw that I was doing that and went straight to their head coach, because they were already established, and they basically didn't make them think that they were already using their meals, but they tried to kind of snake me. And so the Cowboys cheerleaders last year, not this season, but the last season, signed with them. And the girls were like, we're so sad that we can't get your meals because our coach signed with somebody else thinking it was you.
Oh my gosh.
The end of that season, the coach calls me, or the head of sponsorship sales or whatever calls me. She's like, we want you to be our sponsor. And so I had reached out, and then it just kind of like, you know, for all of the 2019 season just kind of went nowhere. And then they reached out to me last year, like in March. So start of COVID, they were like, we're still going to have an NFL season, hopefully. So like, let's get this going. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make this as like, what is your problems that you had with them? What can I do to help you? And basically they were like, the girls need to know exactly what to eat because they're not eating enough, you know, like they're whatever. So I went and got paired up with this dietitian, and just
I saw that too. How did you find the dietitian?
So she's actually a good friend of mine. So friends of friends, a girl who does my hair, Chandler with Lush Hair. Yeah. Is good friends with Nicole, who's my dietitian, and Nicole is so good. She's been working with me and the cheerleaders just to make sure that we give them exactly what they need, you know, we do seminars with them every, you know, month or so, or we try to. So basically they wanted me, and then they couldn't have me, and then they came back, and now like they just love it because I give them just whatever they need. And so
that's crazy.
I try to meet my teams at their needs because every team has a different need.
Really? So what would be the different needs? Because I would think it would all just be to be in shape and eat good food, but maybe that's just a lack of knowledge on my part. So
we do have some teams that are like the Dallas Rhythm and Blues. Oh, I forgot to mention them. Dallas Rhythm and Blues is the hip hop team in the Dallas Cowboys games. Like if you see them like with the band and they're like shaking it. So they don't really eat the same thing as the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders because they're trying to keep like an athletic build. And so they eat different macros and different things to keep the athletic build, to just because they're always like shaking it and popping it, break dancing and all that stuff.
Need the muscles.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas my cheerleaders are trying to keep like tip top shape, maintain their weight the whole time.
Lean.
Yeah. And I mean, they do eat the carbs, and you should absolutely always eat carbs because that's what gives you fuel. But when to eat them and what carbs to eat is also very important. So
right. And you kind of help them with all that?
Yeah. So
that is crazy.
Having Nicole, my dietitian, is just so good because she can tell you like every body is specific. Every like one individual is specific to what they need to eat. So she went and met with every single cheerleader and told them, she gave them the opportunity to call her and meet with them and tell them exactly what their body needs to maintain this weight, and, you know, when you should eat the carbs and when you should eat the proteins. And it just,
Wow.
That's one thing I also wanted, not just the food to be quality, but like showing them that food is fuel, because some people just don't have good relationship with food.
Yeah, definitely not. I think a lot of people don't. And it takes someone kind of walking them through and kind of showing them to kind of change their relationship with food a little bit.
Absolutely.
So have you always counted macros? Is that what you kind of started out doing too?
So I didn't. I started out with just eating better and cutting out macaroni and cheese and Whataburger, you know what
Chicken
I'm saying?
nuggets, that's the one for me.
Yeah, so I started doing that, and then once I got really into the training other people and all of that is when I started to research other ways to better, build muscle and to recomp my body and all that stuff. And so that's when I started counting macros. And I do know that macros are huge in this fitness world. So we provide the macros for our food.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily always recommend it for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, I've tried to get into macros a little bit, and it just kind of confuses me. And do you have to weigh out all of your food? Is that part of it too? Yeah.
So if you're counting macros, I mean, you can guesstimate and a lot of labels will have macros on them. So if you're eating something that's like frozen and it's portioned out already, you can just take a picture of the label. Now, if you're eating grilled chicken and you have to, do 6 ounces or whatever, then that's important because you can't really eyeball chicken. You have to actually weigh it to get what you want. But my thing with macros is, if you struggle with feeling guilty or whatever for eating ever, because that's something that I did. Once I got obsessed with the fitness, it became too much to where I would stop eating. If I ate something bad, I would literally not eat till the next day because I was feeling so guilty. So with this meal prep, I just was like, you know what, as long as I'm eating my meal prep, I know it's good. I know I can eat it, whatever. But with the macros, you start to kind of obsess over it, and it just becomes, that's the first thing you think about when you wake up. And when you start doing that, that's when your relationship with food goes south.
So it almost sounds like maybe that's someone who's for more of an intermediate kind of phase in their health versus someone who's like, I need to start getting healthy. What do I do? Teach me the ways.
And I would say that is more intuition eating. So just eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. A lot of us will continue to eat because it's great and it's good, but the flavor of the food does not change no matter how much you eat. So intuition, just trusting your body to tell you when you're hungry and when you're full.
Right. And we were kind of talking about this the other day too. I think a lot of people don't know how to listen to their body.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to, this tastes good, I'm going to keep eating and keep eating. And then you're so beyond full.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important, just listening to your body. And if you are full, stop eating.
Yeah.
So a little bit going back to your competition, you don't have to say their names if you don't want to, but what was different from your competition? Were they all doing frozen food? Because I remember, I'm trying to think of some meal prep places that I've tried. I want to say it was Simply something. I don't remember. It was here in Dallas. But what is the big differentiator from you to them? Is it just, or is it the type of meals that you do? Because I noticed too, on your Instagram, you do pancakes and stuff like that. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like you're too restricted.
Yeah. So I started just super simple. I would say this August is when I came out with breakfast and my fun menu items. But my clients were coming to me saying they would start with me, and it was just the basics, and it was more focused on losing weight. That's what I just kept telling people, lose weight. This is what I did, which also got the guys and the girls that wanted to gain weight. They wouldn't buy my food because it was too clean. Well, then I started to realize that I needed to expand my menu to hit every single person. And I also need to let people know that if you eat this clean, you're not just always going to lose weight. It's about what you eat. So my clients would come to me and tell me, the reason I came back to you is because other meal prep companies have a lot of additives in their food.
Really?
And they season it with a lot of salt and everything like that. So fun fact, on our custom menu item thing where you can customize protein, veggies, and carbs, we don't add any salt at all. It's completely gluten-free except for the pastas. And sodium free. So that's something, dairy free as well. So that's something that a lot of our clients are looking for. Like when they want to meal prep, they're like, why would I go to this company and let them meal prep something that's garbage? If I'm going to spend money on meal prep and actually take the time out of my day, I want it to be clean.
Right.
And so we kept our menu just completely simple over there. And then we also added the breakfast, which we do have some just super simple items, but we also increased our menu to like protein pancakes and protein waffles and low carb chicken. So chicken and waffles, things like that. So, and I think also just making sure the quality is good. So like if you look at some people's sweet potatoes, for example, when they come to you, they're just very like moist and soggy. And that means that they have been frozen before. Ours come
really. I've always wondered how you could tell between frozen food and not. I mean, obviously the taste is there, but that's interesting that you say that too. Like you can physically like texture and everything to tell.
You can just tell. I mean, so broccoli, I would say it's actually better to have it frozen before because it's pre-boiled and so it's softer. Now, if I were to just get fresh broccoli and just go bake it, it would also go bad faster. So there's different items that you have to like research, and that's something that I did in college. So thank God for that test or that class, because I wouldn't have done any of that, outside of it. But the sweet potatoes is a big one because having soggy potatoes come to you, or just like, I don't know if you know that what I'm talking, I'll show you a picture later, but when you get
soggy potatoes,
our potatoes, you can tell that they have just been freshly baked, freshly cut. We get them just fresh. So that's one thing that differentiates me, and just the fact that it's local. So I'm not, whenever we do expand to cities, which will be probably next year, we're not going to ship across the world, because just imagine your food being shipped in trucks. Like that has to go through a lot of freeze drying, just packaging, just being tossed and touched in different hands. We're going to always stay local. So we're going to pick up our business and take it to another city, have a kitchen in another city, and train a whole nother staff in that city. Just to keep the quality fresh.
Right. So speaking of kind of staff and employees and stuff like that, how did you start scaling this? Like, I know you said a little bit, you had some savings from, being a medical sales, but how did you start hiring the people to do your website, or making, I don't know, monthly payments for your kitchen? I'm not quite sure how that worked, or deciding that you needed employees. Like, how did that come about? And like, how were you able to afford that? Yeah.
So whenever, I don't know who talks about it, but they always talk about, if you're going to work 8 hours, is working 8 hours worth your time, or is hiring somebody for $10 an hour to work for you, which $10 an hour is not what I pay my employees. I pay them more, but just looking at the time that you spend doing something versus hiring someone else to do it so you can go focus on other things. So I started realizing that I was spending so much time cooking and not growing my business that it wasn't really serving me any purpose. So I got my first employee, and she's still with me. And I got her in 2018. And I mean,
that's when you kind of started the whole busybody.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook. I was like, I need help. And somebody was like, hey, my friend cooks for Fuzzies or something. I think she might be interested. And fun story, this chef has also lost 100 pounds since I met her. I got her into yoga. She's been using my meal prep. I just kind of turned her life, not just me. I mean, she's also done it, but we just, that whole being in that atmosphere. Yeah. And now the growth that she's done personally is just incredible. Wow. And it's like kind of our business speaking for itself. Yeah. And so she's still with us. She's our manager now of the kitchen. And, just realizing I also did not want to be in the kitchen. I do love cooking, but when it's like that, I want somebody who's certified in that. So, I'm certified in it because I wanted to be, but it's not my biggest thing is I want to know what to tell people to eat and fitness stuff, like all that stuff. So the chefs I have in there are experienced in kitchens before. And then the delivery drivers. So that was another thing. There was one night, I think I was in Denton or something, and I lived at the time in Rowlett, and it was like midnight when I was getting done with my deliveries because I was doing everything by myself. I was like, this is making me miserable. I was like, I love it, but I hate it. And
so were you cooking by yourself, delivering by yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
All of it. And I literally would wake up and I would start at like 6 a.m. and not finish until midnight. And once I realized all that time made me literally hate it and just whatever.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to hire people. And then if I still, can't get anything done, but once I hired people, it's just like everything was, and you can't look at the help as a dollar sign. You have to look at them as like an investment. So I'm investing into them because they're going to invest into my company with their time and their skills. And that's the biggest thing. Like, always hire somebody smarter than you. So that's when I hired, Angela is her name. She is so good in the kitchen and she knows a lot more. She's actually the one who told me to put toppings on the meal. So the mushrooms, peppers, and all that.
Really?
She was like, do it. I can handle it. And so I was just like, all right, let's do it. And so we started. Now it's one of our upsells that we do.
So in 2008, it was just you, or 2018, it was just you two?
So it was me, her, and then like a couple guy friends that I knew. Like, they were just guy friends just helping me out. And
were you paying them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've always paid. I started paying $10 an hour, and then I realized, Angela probably, I think, makes $18 an hour now.
Yeah.
And she's the manager, and my cooks start at 12 and they can go up to like 15 depending on how long they stay. The biggest reason I do raise their pay is because it's very hard to keep cooks in a kitchen because we don't cook that often.
Right.
So because we're a meal prep company and we're not like a restaurant, I wanted to keep costs low. So I pay hourly for my kitchen instead of monthly. I do hourly. So the less time I take in the kitchen, the less cost that is for me. And so having my cooks all in there whipping it out in 2 or 3 days is easier than having my cooks in there 8 to 5 and having my own kitchen and all that stuff. So
I see. Okay. So do you rent out your kitchen right now? Is it just like you schedule time blocks to go in, like, hey, Monday through Wednesday, we're going in here and we're going to fill orders this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's there's commercial kitchens located all over Dallas, and a lot of meal prep companies do that. They'll go and they'll rent a space in a kitchen for however many hours. There's actually another meal prep company in my same kitchen. It's kind of funny because we run into each other and we're like, what's up?
That's so funny.
But
are y'all like not looking at each other side-eyeing, or y'all like friendly competition?
We're super friendly. I mean, these are a bunch of guys, and so they're super impressed like that we're a bunch of girls, because I only have 2 guys working and they're my delivery drivers. The rest, all of us in the kitchen are girls, and all of them in their kitchen are guys that were in the NFL that like and so
oh my gosh,
they're like, dang girl, like, how'd you do all this? And I'm just like, you just got to jump out there. And so we kind of help each other too, because we do have different clientele. They have a whole different way that they're just set up and stuff like that. So, and they're really good at the branding side. So like Busybody, I honestly was focusing so much on the food that I wasn't focusing on the branding. And this is the first year that we're focusing on the branding too, to just get the ads out there, the labels on the boxes, and just making it look more professional, because the food quality is there. It's the branding that I needed help with, or that I still am working on.
So how did you even go about branding? And like, when did the light bulb go off? Like, hey, we need to, let's even take it back. How did the name Busybody Prep kind of even come about, or you were like, that's the name I want to do?
So when I was in medical sales, I was busy all the time, and I was also meal prepping for myself. And it's funny because one of my first clients ever was a dentist office that I was selling to in medical sales. And I was like, hey, I think I'm going to start meal prepping. They're like, we'll be your first client. So I would drop them off meals for their whole staff. And I couldn't find a name. It was actually Easy Eats at first, because I like Easy E, the rapper. And I was like, Easy E, that's what I'm going to do it. And, then I looked it up, and it's already taken. So then I was like, what can I do that kind of serves people that are super busy but also want to focus on fitness? And so I was like, Busybody. Like, if you're busy, like all these, there's realtors, there's business individuals that have my meal, and then there's also people that are just straight up fitness. And so if you're busy, this works for you. If you're focused on your body, it works for you. So Busybody just kind of
I love that.
Clicked.
Yeah. Okay, so you came up with the name Busybody, and after you came up with the name, were you like, I need to create a logo, or were you like, I need to cook food? Yeah,
so it was kind of both. So actually, to set up an LLC, you have to have the name of your company. And so in September when I started it, I was like, easy eats, and I made like little cute labels. And then by November, I was like trying to make the LLC, and I realized that was taken. So Busybody came about, and then you have to have like a logo too. And like a slogan.
So you have to have a logo to create an LLC.
I'm almost positive you have to have a logo. I think you do. Okay. But I knew for my Instagram I had to, so that's really was like, I was like, okay. So a guy that I went to college with in Texas State was like, hey, I'm doing graphic design. I would love to help you with your logo. And so I was like, okay.
And had you put out there like, hey, I kind of need help with this? Or was he just like realizing that you didn't have a logo yet?
He just realized it. We were just good friends in college, and I was just always posting on my story. Like, I started this business, and he was like, do you have a logo, this, that, and the other? And then he just made some, and it was my first logo. So we've changed logo, and he actually made the second one too.
Really?
But yeah, so he made it. He sent it over, and it was cute. It was the first BB with like the leaves. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do.
So that happened, and we rode that out until about the website. And when I launched the website, I was like, I want to launch t-shirts too. And so I started playing around with that logo on t-shirts, and I was posting about it. And he messaged me again on Instagram. He's like, hey, I was thinking like, it's been really 2 years since we talked, or since I've even, because we didn't really, he gave me the logo, and
and that was kind of
he's just been following me again.
Yeah.
And he was like, let me play around with some t-shirts, because now he owns a t-shirt company. So he made a new logo, which is our busy and then the line body. And my biggest thing in my whole life is simplicity right now.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just want it super simple. Just like when you see it, it's my logo. And so I was like, take the word prep out of it too, because I want it to be more of a lifestyle. So it's Busybody Prep is still our name, but Busybody is like.
And that was just something you just thought of? You're like, I want it to be more of a lifestyle. I want to take the name prep out of it for our shirts.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, and then I was like, I also wouldn't wear a shirt with prep on it all the time. If I was walking around with a black t-shirt and it just said Busybody, I would be more inclined to wear that than Busybody Prep, because Busybody will describe somebody, but Busybody Prep is just a business name.
Exactly.
So,
well, and it's funny too that you say that, because that was so like a snap of a finger kind of thing for you. And I feel like for people in marketing like myself, people will sit around a table for months, and they're like, do we call it Busybody Prep? Do we call it Busybody? Like, what do we put on the shirts? So that's awesome. Yeah. That's very cool.
And it just works because the logo is so, so the guys that I have wearing the shirts, some people are buying them, and like, my boyfriend Logan, he'll just rock it, but we'll be in like North Park and someone's like, I love that shirt. Where'd you get it? And I'm like, it's actually my company. It just makes me feel so good because I can just do so much with the apparel side, which I have ordered. This is true story. So those windbreakers.
Yes, I ordered one for everyone out there. I can't wait to get it in.
Everyone is going to listen to this and be like, I haven't got mine.
I know, right? I was about to say, or maybe even prepare for an influx of orders too.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I've ordered about 50 of them 3 times and sold out of all of them. So I know the market's there on the clothing side as well, because who doesn't love a simple, just black windbreaker that, it's super cute. I wear it all the time because I love it, not just because I want to sell it. But we have sold out so much, and I'm kind of in this position where I need like an assistant, because I cannot get my t-shirt orders out and then order more when they sell out and do all the food. So it's just like the blessing I have of it growing so much, but it's also like so much to focus on.
Definitely. And in terms of growth, maybe it's just me kind of just now kind of tuning into Busybody, but I feel like you guys have really kind of blown up this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what like your follower count was before or anything, but I was looking, a few days ago, and you guys have a good following. Yeah. You post a lot. Who is doing your social media? Is that all you?
Yeah. So we had about 3,000 last May followers. And
last May.
Yeah.
So it hasn't even been a year.
Yeah. And
you've doubled.
Like, it's about to be we're going to be at 10K probably by March.
Yeah.
Because every day I get like 100 to 200 followers of just, I don't know where they're coming from. And I love it. And it's like, so I always knew like Instagram, the power of Instagram is crazy. Like I said, this is actually the second week now going into that I've ever paid for ads. And we're doing Google ads, we're doing Facebook ads, we're doing Instagram ads. and the Google and Instagram the Facebook and Instagram versus Google ads are just taking off. And I think it's because I've made my presence so known in the Dallas area. Like, there's days where I'm like, okay, it's a Tuesday, a Wednesday, I have nothing to do. What am I going to do? And I will literally just call gyms and I'll be like, hey, I'm a meal prep company. We would love to work with you. Or I'll call teams, or I will literally call dentist's office or doctor's office and be like, we're a meal prep company. Like, does your staff need lunches? We will bring some by for free this week to let you try. And you just kind of have to do that if you're not paying for ads. And I still do that. And now I'm paying for ads, and it just kind of, I know it's blown up because my vision and my focus is just on it. And when you put the work in, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You
It'll
know?
come back tenfold.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you started out with, what was her name? Taylor? Or your first?
Angela.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That was your first employee in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then did you hire more employees in 2019? And then just keep adding more employees? Or is it kind of the same couple of people, your driver, your Angela who helps you in the kitchen? Has it just always kind of been them kind of throughout the years, and those people has kind of helped you scale to what you are now?
Yeah, so Angela's been with me. We've gone through a bunch of other workers in the kitchen. And that is kind of, like I said, it's hard to keep cooks, but actually we have a really strong team right now. It's 4 ladies. It's Angela, and then she's brought in the rest from other kitchens that she used to work for. And one of them is her best friend that also worked with her. One of them's a girl that works at Black Swan Yoga and teaches class there. And so the biggest thing is keeping that environment just really happy and really outgoing, because I don't want people that are hating their job or whatever to come work for me and then the quality of my food go down. So as long as I can keep the quality up and, you know, let these 4 girls that are friends and that love each other and work together, just as long as the back end's working good, the front end will always work good too. You know what I'm saying? And so, also funny story about my delivery drivers. His name is Julian, and I was in Florida, I think it was 2019, and my delivery drivers were scheduled and they were good to go, and they all called out. It was like something crazy. I was in Florida. I don't even know what happened. All of my delivery drivers called out. So I posted on Instagram, like, I need a delivery driver, and he came through, and he has still been with me to this day.
Wow.
So he's my, like, delivery manager now. He routes them all. He will meet all my other delivery drivers at the kitchen and kind of, you know, give them their routes. And so he's been with me, and Angela has been with me the longest.
Okay.
And now I do have some employees coming up on, you know, their year with me, but they have been the ones that I've just held those departments down. And I'm actually going to probably make Angela's salary this year.
Nice.
So I've
gosh. And that will be your first salary employee?
Yeah.
That's a big milestone.
I know. It's
a big milestone. That, like, gives me chills. I'm sure it probably does you too.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. So how many employees do you currently have?
I would say about 7 each weekend, 7 to 10.
Okay.
Sometimes we have 7 people in the kitchen, which we don't really need that. We need about 5 to 6 to make it, or 4 to 5 to make it just run really smooth and keep costs low. Because, I mean, we could have 10 people in there, but they'll be, you know, talking and chatting and partying, which I love it. I mean, we've got Cardi B playing loud on the stereo. Everybody's cutting their vegetables out their fingers. And so, you know, that's good. 4 to 5 people is good in the kitchen, and 2 to 3 delivery drivers right now kind of gets it done. So I give my delivery drivers a city. So I'll have, like, one guy do all the Dallas, Mesquite, Garland, whatever. One guy do the Rockwall, Forney, that area. And then the other ones do, like, the Plano, McKinney, Frisco areas. And so we just kind of route them in different areas.
So in terms of front-end people, it's really kind of you and your delivery drivers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's me and my, and Angela. Angela does do some, like, social media marketing and stuff like that. But right now, who really comes in contact with people is me, and then my delivery drivers give it to them. But it's mainly just been me.
So if someone messages Busy Body Prep on Instagram, it's going to be you.
It's always me. That's crazy. There's only one other person logged into Busybody, and it's my boyfriend Logan. Yeah. And the reason is because he runs but he's really high up in sales in the dog nutrition world.
Okay.
And so I was going on vacation last year, and I was like, listen, I need someone to respond to these these busybody DMs. Can you do it? And he was like, sure. So he sometimes responds and sometimes posts, but 99% of the time it's me.
Okay.
So.
Well, funny you bring up your boyfriend, because you said, what was it, 2019, you were in a relationship and it just like wasn't serving you.
Yeah.
How is your relationship now compared to your relationship before? Because I know nothing about your boyfriend, but just from what I see on Instagram, y'all are so adorable and so cute. And it looks like you guys have the same kind of goals in mind, which I could only imagine from a business perspective, how awesome that must be to have a partner who's really into fitness, just like you are, that aligns with your company goals, your personal goals.
Yeah. Well, I can spill some tea right now if you want me to.
Spill all the tea.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when I started Busybody, I had a different boyfriend. So I've had Logan is number 3.
Nothing wrong with that.
Third's the charm.
Yeah.
But so I don't know the years, but when I started it, I was actually like, we were broken up.
Yeah.
And we were just like, I moved back to Dallas and he was back in Dallas and we tried it for a week. It didn't work. So we stopped. Well, then I got another boyfriend, and we're not mentioning names here, but I can just tell you from a business side of things, if you're an entrepreneurial woman and you are just very bold and driven and all that, you either have to have no partner or somebody who is backing you at all times and just supports you. And so like I literally met Logan, y'all, last May, and I can tell you, I feel like I've known him for so long. We haven't even had a fight yet. I've never fought with him. He has done nothing but, okay, so backtrack. I thought I was never going to date somebody again. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to quit Busybody and go be a teacher. So I signed up to be
a teacher. Oh my gosh, talk about a complete 180.
That's like kind of what, you feel like when you have worked so hard and then it just gets deleted. So like, I was like, oh my God, my life got deleted. Like all my followers that made Busybody successful. I mean, obviously I did it, but I couldn't do this without my customers and the people that were following me. That got deleted. And I have, it's been a year and I have about 4,000 back, which I'm not going to buy followers. I'm not going to make it unorganic. So I'm just kind of growing my personal page back.
But you still had, when your personal page got deleted, you still had your Busybody Instagram, right?
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of the people who followed your personal page were people who.
Yeah. And they supported me, and it was like a whole ordeal. And so I was really kind of just healing from that mess and figuring out my purpose again, because like I said, if you're not being supported and you're kind of being torn down by who you're dating, it's going to affect every part of you. So
especially as a business owner,
absolutely.
Like you said, I almost quit Busybody. That is huge.
Yeah. I mean, and it was like, I was struggling with that. And then I went on this vacation. So I went on this vacation with my best friends, Darius and Troy. I mean, they've been with me since day one. And I was like, y'all, I need a breakthrough vacation. Let's go. So we up and just drove to Florida one day. And that's how I met Logan, because he was friends with Darius, which is crazy because me and Logan have like 150 mutual followers and friends.
And
but we
never knew of each other or anything. That's crazy.
And it was funny too, because the night me and my ex broke up is the night I met Logan, but I didn't actually meet Logan. He was just in the same section of me, a bottle blonde. And I didn't even know that. And so now we look back and we're like, we literally met that night.
Know.
But
well, it's crazy to think too, they say like you're always kind of like 5 people away from, who you're going to end up with, or, a huge mentor for you, or, someone like that. So it's so crazy. I always think about that too. Like you could be walking around anywhere and you might pass the person that you're going to marry in 5 years, but you have no idea who that person is right now.
And he grew up in Forney, and my whole family lives in Forney. Except for my like mom and dad, they live in Rowlett. But so he's just been around everyone. And it's also funny. So Logan is like not my cousin, but
you're like, I need to preface this.
Literally. Yeah. So my mom's twin, she passed away like 10 years ago, but her husband, Kevin, was from Woodville. And so Kevin is not my blood uncle, but he's my uncle by marriage. So Logan, his family is from Woodville. And Woodville is like this town where you'll blink and you miss it. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Well, my uncle's from there and Logan's from there. It turns out my uncle's like great aunt was Logan's neighbor growing up, and somebody along the line is married to each other in that family.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Literally, he just like has been around my life, my whole life, and I didn't know it. But
that is wild.
Right when I was about to quit Busybody, I met him, and he was like, "What do you do?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's badass." And he started just telling all of his friends about it. And like, I'm not kidding, the second I meet him, like orders just picked up that week. I had my busiest week ever, like the week after I got back from my vacation in Florida, and it was because he was like, he believed in it so much, and it kind of gave me my passion for it again.
Right.
And I realized like my business is not a failure, like, you know, other people would not that my ex would say that, but you know, he's just one of those things,
implied kind of things.
And you know, he just helped me get back on my feet with it. And since then, my vision and my focus is literally on Busybody. And I was like, I'm not going to date anybody at this time because I just need it. And he was just like, okay, that's fine. And then I just was like, you know what, whatever. I'm in love with this guy. I need to date him. So, but you know, it's always so true. Who you hang out with is really who you are. They say if you hang out with 5 idiots, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 entrepreneurs, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with, you know, 5 smart people, you'll be the 6th. And it's just crazy because the people who I hang out with now are all so driven.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of, you know, friends that are entrepreneurs. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to like hang out with me, obviously, but if you're working hard and if you have passion and if you believe in each other, that's the biggest thing. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, especially whenever you're on such an expedited path to growth, because you're growing a company, which involves growing yourself, and your mindset grows, and your goals and your values just level up.
For sure.
You have to find that person who levels up with you. And it almost sounds like kind of the stars aligned for you and Logan.
They did.
So that's crazy. So what does he do? You kind of said a little bit, but he's in the dog fitness world?
He's in the dog world.
So how did he even get into that? That sounds like a dream job, working with dogs all the time.
He brings his dog to work every day.
What?
So
here in Dallas?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the headquarters is in Fort Forney.
Okay.
And it's called X Dog, which is, I can't remember what it stands for. Extreme Dog or something like that. X Dog. But it is basically like the nutritional stuff for humans, but for dogs. So they have hip and joint formulas. They have muscle builders. They have proteins. And if you've seen my dog, Scuddy, well, it's actually Logan's dog, but I have mentally adopted him.
Yeah.
He is a muscular boy, and he's
pit bull, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. He's a XL pit. So
okay, XL pit.
XL pit bull.
Oh my gosh.
So XL bull. I think he's an XL pit bull terrier.
Okay.
He's like a bully XL whatever, but he is big, and he's been eating those supplements. He eats raw food every day. Like raw ground beef is what we give him. And
raw ground beef, not cooked.
No,
but raw.
Raw. So giving your dog raw is actually good because they get all the benefits of all the stuff for their coat. And okay, this is Scuddy's food bowl. It's X Dog kibble, which is like the normal stuff.
Right.
And what goes in the kibble is like straight up freeze dried like chicken or fish or whatever, and a bunch of good nutrients like prebiotics, probiotics, all that stuff. And then he gets about a handful of ground beef raw, some blueberries, a raw egg, and olive oil. And that's what he eats every morning. And so, and then some you know, of the supplements that Logan gives him, like powder. But Logan does sales for them. And he's kind of started with Stan, the owner. So since Stan started about 10 years ago, but Logan's been there for 2 years. And they just now moved from a like 2,000 square foot facility to about a 10,000 square foot facility.
That's a huge jump.
Week.
Wow.
And Logan's seeing, you know, all that growth with that company and the kind of the fitness world, and just seeing the potential. And so he's very, very smart. I mean, he can sell anything to anyone. It's crazy. So
that is so cool. So Hayden is my fiance, and we watched some Netflix documentary on feeding your dog raw food.
Yeah.
And afterwards we're like, yeah, we're going to do it. And we have not done it whatsoever, because I think just the idea of giving your dog raw food sounds so scary, but you're right. It's the best thing for them.
Yeah.
There's also kind of a little bit of a lazy factor in there. It's like, that's a lot to keep up with your dog, at least, you know, for us in our current lifestyles. But that is very cool that a company is out there doing that. Do they make like kind of pre-made food, I guess, meal prepping for dogs, so to speak.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because we talked about starting a meal prep version, but like for dogs.
Yeah.
And like I get all of his food at wholesale with Busybody. So I'll go and I'll get, you know, the food to cook, and then I'll just get double and bring it home to Scuddy. So he eats like these big logs of ground turkey, or ground beef, and he goes through a log in about 2 to 3 weeks. But
okay, so it kind of lasts a while, sounds like. So that's
and it's
good.
honestly, like, people think it's expensive, but you'll go and you'll buy your dog a $60 or $70 bag of dog food, and they go through that in like a couple weeks because you got to give them so many cups because they're not getting all the nutrients they need. They're getting fat, their bellies are just hanging. You know how like some dogs, when they get older, they get those lumps in their body, and that's just fat pockets and stuff. And so the biggest thing that X Dog does is they don't give you all of those, you know, additives in the food to like bulk it up. They give you exactly freeze-dried whatever, and then they encourage you to add raw food to it and add the supplements and all that stuff. And so we've talked about it, prepping, which actually Logan does prep his food every week. So he gets little baggies and he'll put his
that's so cute.
I know, he's gonna be such a good dad. I'm like, the way he takes care of Scuddy, I'm like, oh my God. He gets little baggies and he'll put the ground beef in there. So every day he just gets a bag out, puts it in his food, and then tops it with blueberries. And so it's really easy.
Wow.
And, you know, like, so if a dog was out in the wilderness and they like killed an animal to eat, because that's normally what you have to do, they're going to eat it raw. So like, that's how you have to think about it. Like, whenever you're feeding them the raw, at first when I saw that, I was like, what in the world are you feeding your dog? And then now it's just like second nature, you know? That's how they eat it. Because like, if you feed it to them cooked, you don't get all the nutrients, or they don't get all the nutrients, and they don't, it's actually not good for them to feed them cooked meat.
Okay. Well, maybe we will get back on this. Okay. Yeah. We are huge dog people. Dog people. Yeah. So the blueberries, is that just like the same for humans? It's like antioxidants for them?
Yeah, prebiotics, probiotics. The olive oil is actually really good for your dog's coat. So
I have heard that. And I think I've heard eggs are good for their coats too.
Yeah. It's the fattiness in it. It just adds like a layer onto their coat. So
kind of switching gears here, how has COVID kind of affected you this year? Because for so many people, it's affected them in both, you know, positive and negative ways. From the exterior, it almost seems like kind of a positive, but I kind of want to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So when it first started, I was scared because I couldn't find meat anywhere, really. Like, I had to go to like 7 different stores to get our food. So
and how do you get your food now? Because I kind of heard you mention wholesale.
Yeah.
Do you buy all your food wholesale?
Restaurant suppliers. So there's Restaurant Depot. And at first I was going to like Sam's and Costco, and I still do sometimes because their food is cheaper and actually better quality. Sometimes you'll see these vendors that give you chicken, and it's just like the scraps, and there's meal prep companies that religiously use it, and I just won't, because it's just not it is chicken breast, but it's also thigh and everything else thrown into there, and we've used it and we got complaints that week, and so we're really high about our quality. So Restaurant Depot has a very good quality of some stuff, but like, if you'll go to Restaurant Depot or other stores, sometimes they don't have, you know, seasonal vegetables. So you have to go buy them at Sam's and get them in bulk, but still, so Sam's marks the price up a little bit. Restaurant Depot is still at the like lowest wholesale for food. So it just really depends. We're actually talking to some companies, Benny Keith and Brothers Produce and all these things, just to get our groceries sent to us. But for now, restaurant suppliers, Restaurant Depot is doing the job. So
okay. And so COVID hit and you were like, where are we going to get our food supply?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of scary because I waited 4 hours one time in a line to check out because everyone was, you know, buying toilet paper and like meat. And I can tell you there's probably people with a bunch of meat in their freezer still because they're scared of it. And so they were taking that away from businesses, and some business owners were going to Restaurant Depot and just getting hundreds of pounds of chicken for no reason because they thought, you know, instead of just letting the world just figure it out.
Right.
Because when Tyson shut down, which was the chicken, whatever, they stopped serving or making meat that week. And so I had to literally go to like Tom Thumb or something and get meat, but it was so expensive. I mean, I paid like $400 where I normally pay $100.
Oh
so
my gosh.
That part.
So when did that start leveling out? Or was that just kind of the first kind of few weeks of like announcing COVID was kind of happening, or has it leveled out?
March, April, May, and pretty much until October. I want to think it was October. You know, it was fine. So I actually got a lot more orders. People were not wanting to leave the house. People were actually doing the to-go for their businesses. And so meal prepping became more of like a normal for people. And so they started coming more to me. So I actually got a lot of new clients, but the cost of food went just skyrocketed. And so I was still getting more clients, but I wasn't really making more of a profit. And I was, you know, still having to pay the same amount for my employees and all that stuff. But I would say in October, November, it really leveled itself out whenever COVID kind of slowed down, which it's gone back up again because of the holidays. But I think on the back end of things, like with stores and with places not really shutting down again, it's not really affecting us. And so right now, food prices are back to normal. My clientele has still grown, so that's good. And it's actually gotten better. I think people really enjoy getting their food delivered to them. We saw a growth in like our elderly clients, which is good because a lot of people are buying for their parents, and then you know, they're like 80 and they don't want to leave the house, and so we'll just deliver to their porch every day.
I didn't even think about that, but you were so right, because everyone's getting their food delivered now. DoorDash, all those type of places are blowing through the roof, getting your groceries delivered. You know, Busybody Prep fills that kind of gap that people are looking for. I didn't even think about that. So kind of, at least only one area that I kind of hear is just kind of the prices of your food was affected a lot. Did you have to raise your prices?
I did. I did raise them, but just like $1 or $2. And
that helped enough?
It did.
Okay.
And so, because I run discounts all the time, and I was running discounts so much, and my food was actually the cheapest in Dallas. And that's one thing I did want to do, is because a lot of the meal prep companies were taxing like crazy. And I was like, there's no need, because I'm still going to make profit. And I'm honestly in this to help people. And so why would I make it? So I had to raise them just a little bit. And that's just to keep my business running. But we still do run, you know, buy 10, get 5 here and there. And we run 20% discount kind of all the time. So running discounts and raising my prices just like $1 or $2. Also, just knowing my worth in the meal prep industry. At first, I was like afraid to charge more, but now I'm like, no,
established. I know what you're doing.
Like, why would I charge $7 when I know it's worth 11 or whatever? So
exactly. Do you have like a mentor or anyone who's like helping you with this? Because, you know, knowing to do Google ads and Facebook ads, or starting those, that's a whole feat in and of itself. Knowing to do discounts and when to do discounts, you know, like, do you have anyone kind of helping you with that? Or has that all just been you just saying, we need to do this week. We need to do this. Hey, this month I want to work on this. Or
well, so my dietitian, Nicole, her husband is so smart. Like, if you need your website built, go to him. I mean, he'll take his time in doing exactly what you need, but he's fast, he's good, he's great. So he's actually running my ads right now. On the whole ad situation, I tried to run like one by myself, and I was like, I don't know how to target this specific city so that people in, you know, Oregon are not getting my, because I have had people from Washington, people from Oregon order my food, and I'm like, oh no, how are you hearing about it? So now he just kind of, so he runs the ad parts, but it goes back to in college when I worked for this apartment complex, and we did a content calendar. Kind of at the beginning of the year, I was managing this complex in college. I don't know how I got that job. The guy just liked me, because in the interview he was like, what do you do in your pastime? And I was like, watch Kardashians. And he was like,
you said that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to get along. And I was like, oh, sweet. So then he made me manage her like sophomore year in college. But anyway, I had to do a lot of things that taught me how to run this business. So it was basically just planning for success is my motto. So like what is lacking in busybody? Is it getting more clients or is it retaining them? And if it's getting them, then I need to figure out how I can get in front of people. And so I knew, by going to college and doing all these things, that ads are super important. Running, like, people pay millions of dollars each year to run ads. And so I was like, you know what, let me pay a couple of dollars this year to run some ads and see how that goes. And then if it's retaining the clients, like, I will send personalized, like, letters in people's meals sometimes. Like, I have people who are still with me for 2 years and they've been on my food for 2 years, and like there's times where I'll be like, look, your meals are free this week because you have supported me so much. And so basically just listening in college. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of people don't use their college experience, but for me, I really did.
We were just talking about this too the other day on one of our podcasts about how people do not use their college experience how they should to really set them up afterwards. Use that time as exploration to find out, what do I like, what don't I like, kind of experiment a little bit. So that's awesome that you were able to kind of get that experience.
And another thing on the business side of things is, when I was in college, I actually wanted to major in accounting and finance because I made A's in all math. Like, I'm so great at math, but I got into business finance and I was like, all right, this is different. I ain't doing this. But so now I do my own finances too. Like, I've run my taxes every year. I mean, there's so much to running a business that now that I'm hiring people, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Like, what am I doing? So
that's crazy. So you do all of your taxes, all of your finances. Wow.
So, and any advice I can tell you guys is to get a business card, because
business card.
So with my bank, I have my personal bank and then I have a business card bank.
Okay.
So, it's not a credit card. It's like a business debit card, and literally just don't buy anything personal on it. And then that'll be like your business, expenses every year. You just go pull them from the bank. That's the great thing of automation these days, is you can just see what you spent your money on. It can categorize it, and then you can first, sometimes I buy on my personal card stuff that I can write off, like trips or Starbucks or whatever. But it's been a learning process, and you learn as you go. But business card has helped me a lot.
Okay, that's a really good tip, because you can just put everything, all your business expenses on there, and kind of easily track, this is what we spent at the end of 2020. That was a great piece of advice. What if you would have like one thing that you would want to tell someone who's an aspiring entrepreneur, or maybe still trying to figure out what they're wanting to do, or maybe they're in business now and they're just kind of like struggling with managing, like what is one tip that you would give to someone?
So be thankful for the problems that you have, because I can tell you all the problems that I have right now, I asked for. I asked to be busier, and now I'm busier. And so all this stress,
you're a busybody.
Yes, all this stress and these problems I have came because I grew, and you got to go through that. So be prepared to grow and be prepared for more problems. Mo money, mo problems, what they say. It's so true. And then also just take the chance and believe in yourself, because if you don't, then who will? I mean, how are you going to sell somebody like a product and not even actually believe in it? So, it's kind of hard to get there, but once you're confident in it, and the more you do it, the more practice, the more perfect it becomes. And you just kind of eat it, breathe it, sleep it, all of it, just really, really, really breathe it or believe in it. And so that's what I can tell you is be just in front of people too. Like, don't be scared, because I can tell you the reason why I'm succeeding and the reason why there's people that aren't is because they gave up on it, and they actually didn't just do it. And I'm no expert in the field, but I've hired people who are. So I've hired experts at ads. I've hired experts at cooking, but I had to get there first. So,
well, and something that you said too that I think really makes you stand out is, reaching out to people, being the face of it, like actively calling on gyms and actively calling on these sports teams and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of people would be intimidated by that. I don't think a lot of people would do that. Even if you have your own company and, say that you're out there and you're building it, I think a lot of people still kind of lack that extra step of putting yourself out there. Sure. So
yeah,
I think that's probably been a huge part in your success.
Yeah, and just throw yourself into the wolves because you're going to eat if you do that. This is like one thing I tell all my friends is the only time you're actually really going to make it is when you have to make it. So like, you know, I just signed up for a weekly reoccurring charge of my ads and my ad management. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to pay it? Which everything's great, you know, but I have car payment. I have a rent payment. Exactly. So now I'm having ads, and now I have to pay my employees and my kitchen and the food and all these things. And the only time you're ever going to make it is when you have to. So I am a firm believer that God's going to put you through what you need to be through to teach you lessons. And if you haven't been broke before, you're not going to know how to save money. If you haven't had to make it before, if you haven't been like, oh my gosh, rent's due tomorrow, how am I going to do this? And have to learn the hustle, then you're not going to do it. So the second you have to make it happen is when it's going to happen.
Right. So I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
Being a female in business, do you feel like you've noticed anything different, or like, has there been any differences, or are you just like, no, I'm just in business and we're chugging along, or you're like, no, I have noticed these things, or anything like that? Has there been a difference from your viewpoint?
Yes, because a lot of people will either try to dumb down conversations with you and be like, or they'll overcharge you and think that you're dumb. And so the biggest thing, and then there's also people who really respect women in business, because I do feel like that's a growing area.
Absolutely.
In this world. And so I'm very thankful for that, but I've never let that get on my nerves or bother me, because also being in karate and being a black belt as a woman, being surrounded by a bunch of guys, because that's mainly a guy sport, you just kind of get used to it. And, you got to just prove people by your actions. So like, I can tell you, like, going into rings with people who are bigger than me or fighting and winning, they don't realize that you're going to win until you get in there and you beat the crap out of somebody or whatever. So you got to just kind of know yourself. And when somebody does that, don't take it to offense. That's just because it's the way that people have been taught. But once you can prove yourself, and once you can be so confident and know, like, I am going to make it regardless if you believe in me or not.
Right.
That's kind of where my mindset is. But I can tell you, like, in meetings where I've talked to guys on, getting into kitchens or hiring people for my website or doing all these things, like, they'll try to make it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about until I, like, bring them facts and I tell them, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Really?
And they're like, oh shit, she does know what she's doing. Yeah. And, I bring Logan to a lot of events. So we went to Cowboys Fit last weekend.
I saw that. How did that go?
It was so good. So I think we're going to be in their little kitchen area. So they have a Plano location, a Dallas location, and a Frisco, which one of the stars, the biggest one. Mm-hmm. But they're trying to get Busybody meals in their little refrigerators for their clients to buy. And so they'll buy wholesale from me, which is great. So I'll be pushing, a couple hundred extra meals out a week, just no matter what, to the Cowboys Fit family, hopefully. So I actually got a text this morning saying that they really loved it and they're excited to work together. So that's good news.
That's crazy.
I had some guys come up to me and they were like, so, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's Busybody. And I started talking about it. And then they'll be like, and they'll look at Logan and they'll be like, oh, this is your company? And he's like, no, man, it's all her. And they're just shocked. That happened like 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
And Logan actually saw it and he was like, dang, people really do think that, like, girls can't run a business or something, and they're like, oh, it's y'all's. And he's like, no, man, it's all her. So it's just kind of a stereotype, especially being in the fitness world too, because a lot of trainers, like, are more respected when they're guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes from, like, the authority of guys. So, like, I would rather a guy tell me what to do than a girl, because when a girl tells me what to do, I'm like, but when a guy, I'm like, no, honey. But I take it as it is. And there are a lot of things that I've learned. Like, a lot of my mentors are guys. All the podcasts I listen to are guys.
Right.
And that's just because I feel like we have grown up in a world where guys do lead. And, I like changing that too. I like being a leader in my little kitchen and having all girls. It's kind of powerful,
Definitely. I love that. So of one of my podcasts that I listen to is How I Built This on NPR. And Guy Raz interviews these different founders and kind of talks about their stories. And at the end, he asks, what part of your success has been from luck and just kind of being in the right place at the right time? And what part of your success has been from skill and just you knowing what to do? And I kind of want to extend that question out to you. What do you think? Has it been luck for you? Has it been skill? Or maybe it's been a little bit of both?
I would say it's definitely been both. I think I started it, like I said earlier in the podcast, at the perfect time. The market was not flooded with meal prep companies, and I knew that meal preps were very important. So when I started it, it was like literally the perfect time to start a meal prep company in Dallas if you're going to. And also just, having my friend that was in the industry and becoming, so she got married, and then I became friends with some of her friends that were also dancers, and just networking, and getting into big gyms like Evolve in Dallas. I started, I don't know if
I worked out with Sharif for a little bit, and then I'm good friends with Brooklyn, who's like BFFs with Sharif. Yeah.
So Sharif, trained a lot of the MADDOX dancers back in the day.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so, being around those big named people in Dallas just kind of was luck, because that's how I got the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Like, one of the girls was coming to me, and then she told all the other cheerleaders. And so really just networking has given me luck, but also the skill of being able to hold conversations, being able to keep people coming, and being able to actually provide food that's good. Like, anybody can start something, but as long as you know what you're doing in the back end, like, I was actually telling Logan this yesterday. I was like, it's crazy that some people don't know, like, what to cook in their house. You know what I mean? Like, I look at my pantry and we have like 4 things, but I can make a big meal out of it because it's like, I know how to work with food. And so that part, actually knowing how to work with food, knowing that it does bring you benefit, and taking the time out of my days when I wasn't getting paid at all. Like, the weeks I was starting it, I would go sit at coffee shops because coffee is my weakness. But I would go sit at coffee shops and just literally research and make menus and figure out what to do. And I did that so much that it just came to life.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in manifestation. So
me too.
I manifested the crap out of it. And I literally started talking about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders being their official sponsor like month 2. And I became it because I wanted it so bad that I was like, I'm going to make this happen. So luck is big. And I think luck is the part of me knowing the people. And then the skill just came from backing it up.
I love that. And I love what you said about like manifesting, because that is a big thing for me too. Especially like if you're in a hard part in your life, or there's a pain point in your career or something like that, and you're really wanting to make a change or wanting to level up in your business. I'm a firm believer in start feeding your mind with what you want to see. And we've had someone on the podcast, Sean Humphreys, he talks about this really in depth. But I even like take a expo marker and write it on my mirror and write exactly word for word what I want to happen.
Yeah.
And just start feeding your mind with it. So I love that you kind of did that with the Cowboys and kind of made it happen.
Yeah. So I hope to get like into the actual players, and we've talked about it, me and the sponsorship girl, we've talked about the way in, because they have, to feed them is a lot of
I can
food.
only imagine. Hayden already eats a lot, so I couldn't imagine a whole, team of basketball players or, what have you, football players.
I think we're going to start with catering just to practice a week, with hundreds of pancakes or whatever they want, and just getting in that way. And that to me is, enough just saying that. And again, the reason I do it is to help people, but also I'm a firm believer in if you give back, the more that you give, the more that you will receive. And so I'm working on helping a church out, Shoreline City. We're going to give some meals to the family and just try to cater events, at no cost, just to like give back, because I know it is hard for people in this time. Obviously for Busybody it was like a great success, but for some people, losing jobs and not being able to, it's either pay rent or buy food. So
that's awesome
too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I loved talking to you and getting to know you, and your story is so unique, and it was really great to hear. And I think for a lot of people out there who are, just kind of wondering what their next steps are, or, you know, wanting to start a business, I think your story will really help them. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Real quick, tell us where we can find you and Busybody, whether that's on Instagram or your website. Just give a little shout out to that.
So follow my personal page, Emily Jean Vines, on Instagram, and then Busybody Prep at Busybody Prep on Instagram, and then busybodyprep.com for the website. So
alrighty.
Order your meals. If you want buy 10 get 5 for this podcast,
nice.
You can enter code buy 10 get fit. So that will be buy 10 meals, get 5 free, and that code is actually super exclusive. So you guys are
exclusive to Hired Up listeners. Okay, buy 10 get fit.
Buy 10 get fit.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for having us, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye, y'all.